Welcome to this explainer. I want you to imagine, just for a second, stepping right onto the roof of the world, a place where the air is agonizingly thin, where isolated valleys, hidden lakes, and ancient spiritual traditions have evolved in almost total separation from the rest of the planet. Today, we're exploring how extreme geography doesn't just happen to surround Tibetan spiritual devotion, it literally shapes it. We're going to walk the ancient pilgrimage paths and look at these sacred sites straight through the eyes of the travelers who actually walk them. Our journey kicks off here, on Highway 318. Picture a 5,000-kilometer, dusty, wind-scoured path stretching from Shanghai all the way to the Nepal border. But it's the Tibetan section we care about today, a stretch that has earned an absolutely legendary reputation. They call it the Road to Heaven. As a traveler here, you aren't just passing snow-capped peaks and glacier-fed rivers. You're navigating a path that is going to test your absolute physical limits. And for the devoted pilgrims you're sharing the road with, simply walking this highway is an incredible act of devotion. Negotiating this terrain brings us to your very first physical trial, 108. As you approach the Gaula Pass, perched over 5,000 meters above sea level, where oxygen is seriously scarce, you are forced to navigate 108 terrifying hairpin bends etched right into the mountain. But here's the thing. In Tibetan tradition, 108 isn't just a matter of extreme civil engineering. It's a deeply sacred number. You find it in prayer beads, temple steps, mandalas. It represents spiritual completion. So the physical dizziness of this climb is intrinsically tied to a profound spiritual arrival. To understand how this geography shapes the spirit, we're going to follow this agenda. First, the path of devotion. Second, nature as the divine. Third, sanctuaries in the sky. And finally, the holy city. Okay, let's dive into section 1, the path of devotion. When you're out there walking the Tibetan plateau, the elements are incredibly harsh. The cold bites, the wind literally never stops, and every single breath takes conscious effort. But to understand why people endure this path, we have to look back at the very foundation of the land itself. 50 million years ago, the Indian subcontinent slammed into Eurasia. It was a violent collision that thrust the bedrock of the Himalayas into the sky and created the highest highland on Earth. This extreme isolated geography set the stage. Fast forward to the 7th century, and we hit a massive cultural milestone, the creation of the Tibetan script, which was specifically designed to translate sacred Sanskrit texts. And that brings us right up to the present day, where that ancient faith is still in motion. Pilgrims are out there right now walking Highway 318 to cleanse their karma. You see, the history of the earth and the history of the spirit are completely intertwined here. Section 2. Nature as the divine. We're going to step off the main highway now and move deep into the silent wilderness. Out here, there are no constructed shrines, no grand temples. Instead, the towering peaks and glacial lakes actually serve as a massive, open-air sanctuary. Now, what's really interesting here is the concept of a kora. A kora is a sacred pilgrimage circuit. In Tibet, you don't just visit a holy site, you walk around it. This is often a grueling 52-kilometer trek. Basically, you're doing an ultramarathon in the death zone, over high passes and windswept rock. The crucial takeaway is that this physical endurance is the exact mechanism for spiritual cleansing. Walking the kora is believed to cleanse the karma of an entire lifetime. And the absolute ultimate kora surrounds Mount Kailash. Standing at 6,638 meters tall, it's this perfectly symmetrical peak revered as the center of the universe by 4 different religions: Tibetan Buddhists, Hindus, Jains, and followers of Bon. But it is never, ever climbed, only circled. Setting foot on the slopes of Kailash is a strict violation of the sacred. It's not about conquering the mountain, you see. It's about submitting to its presence. In fact, completing the kora around Kailash 108 times is believed to bring a soul closer to enlightenment. So, after that grueling mountain circuit, pilgrims seek out a totally different kind of natural divinity to find some inner stillness. Tibetans describe it so perfectly, a mirror of the sky resting on the chest of the earth. They're talking about Yamdruk Lake, one of the region's 3 holiest lakes. Known as the turquoise heart of Tibet, pilgrims and hermits come to meditate by its secret, still waters. They believe it's this massive source of divine energy that restores balance after the extreme, punishing trials of the high passes. Let's move up and see how this builds in Section 3, Sanctuaries in the Sky. We've seen how nature acts as a temple, but what about the places people have actually built? To see those, we have to shift our gaze vertically, straight up to the impossible architectures clinging to the cliffs. Think about how hard it is to find focus in your everyday life. Now consider the physical reality of these locations. You've got freezing winds, sheer vertical drops, altitudes pushing 5,000 meters, and absolutely no clear roads in or out. It is undeniably harsh, but that is exactly what enables their spiritual purpose. Deep, year-round meditation, absolute silence, and a complete, total lack of distraction. This unforgiving exterior, it's not an accident. It's a highly intentional design to strip away all the noise of the human world. Take Zizhu Monastery. It literally clings to a bare rock face at nearly 5,000 meters. Or Salim Monastery, which defies gravity high above a ravine. Its rooms actually feel less like constructed halls and more like simple natural caves. And then there's Gondan Monastery, wrapping around the sharp mountain ridge like a thread. These incredible structures integrate so seamlessly into the cliffs, they really feel like natural extensions of the sacred landscape itself, like they were carved directly out of devotion. Section 4, the Holy City. We are going to lower our altitude just slightly now to 3,650 meters as we arrive at our final destination. We're entering Lhasa, the place of the gods. And for a Tibetan pilgrim, making it here is the ultimate, once-in-a-lifetime destination. But arriving in Lhasa doesn't mean the physical exertion just stops. Surrounding the holiest sites is the bar course circuit. It's like a living river of devotion. And the rhythm of prostration here is mesmerizing. You clasp your hands above your head, you lower them to your chest, you kneel onto the earth, and then slide forward until your entire body is completely flat against the ground. Now I want you to imagine repeating that exact motion over and over, measuring a journey of hundreds, sometimes thousands of kilometers, exclusively with the length of your own body. It is a grueling, unimaginably beautiful process of total spiritual surrender. And all of this intense travel leads right to the two monumental landmarks at the very heart of Lhasa. First is Jokong Temple, a 7th century spiritual center that acts as the beating heart of Tibetan Buddhism, housing the highly sacred Jowa Shakyamuni statue. And then, dominating the entire skyline, is the Potala Palace. It's a 13-story fortress of faith and governance with over 1,000 rooms. Every single stairway and chamber in these buildings holds centuries of devotion. They stand as the breathtaking culmination of the pilgrim's incredible ascent. We've seen how the geography of Tibet demands absolutely everything from the people who travel it, transforming intense physical suffering into pure spiritual clarity. It's a landscape where every single step, every breath in that thin air, is a deliberate act of faith. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final thought. What would you be willing to endure to find your own inner stillness? Thank you so much for exploring with me today, and keep seeking those answers.